What's going on, otaku ans? Shit. Anyways, what's going on, everybody?
I'm done
So
with you.
today, so today, our boy, Mr. David, has finished something that I told him to do finally because he's always telling me what to watch and what to read, even though I don't even know how to read. But he's finally
Obviously.
finished something that we discussed. He watched something. There's only been two things that you have watched that I've suggested to you,
Only two
and
things.
yeah, Iron Blood Orphans and
Sword Online. I
Sword
mean,
Art
obviously.
Online. Sword Art Online. That's what we're going to talk about today. So
No,
stick
hold on,
around.
hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on.
There's only been two things. What's the other thing? What's something else you've watched that I've suggested to you, like fully watched?
The one video that showed like clips, like small video clips. It was on Netflix.
No,
I
that
watched
doesn't
that.
count. I'm talking about anime. I'm talking about anime,
I
not
watched
Oat
Bastard.
Studio.
Bastard.
Not Oat Studio.
Bastard. You got me to watch Bastard.
That's two. That's three. Whatever.
There's definitely some more Netflix
Give
jokes.
me five, and I'll consider you the winner. Give me five.
Anyway, all right. So I finally finished Sword Art Online. It took a few months. I know. It took a few months. You know,
Yeah.
initially you told me it sucked. First you told me to watch it, then you told me it sucked,
Well,
and then you told me it was good.
I wouldn't go there, but
Don't
you know.
don't make me edit this video and put a literal clip of you saying it sucks.
Okay, so yes, I did say at one point that I fucking hated Sword Art Online. I really did. But because my wife made me finish it, it became one of the best animes, or at least last few arcs of an anime that I really fucking enjoyed. But I'm glad that you watched it and finished it because it's definitely something you should watch. So run me through your seasons, how you felt. Just like maybe arc by arc, kind of wave top the seasons for me. Let me see how you feel about them. I'll give
Okay,
you
okay.
my thoughts.
Well,
So
of course, season one was the beginning of the show. This is where initially you find out that the whole premise of the show is they're real people in a VR game in which the initial game from season one, when you die, you actually die in the real world. So
yep.
season one was like probably I would say now after finishing the show, my second favorite. All the way up to the end, it was my favorite season out of all the seasons.
Yeah.
Season one is where we get to meet Kirito, the main character. We see how he progress. Like he starts out pretty strong because
Yeah.
played the game as a beta tester before the game came out, like the full game came out. So he was kind
Right.
of strong, but we saw him actually progressively get stronger. He lost fights. He lost sword fights against other people. He got his ass kicked a lot. He almost died a lot. But in the end, we got to see him progressively get stronger and stronger. And we also got introduced to another main character and also his love interest, Asuna. Asuna was a badass in her own right.
Yeah.
Remember, we actually watched the movie a
Yeah.
couple weeks ago that actually focused on Asuna, the character.
Yeah, so yeah, we watched the movie Progressive, and there's part two that came out in Japan, but it hasn't come out here yet. I don't think.
So from
Yeah,
the season one's perspective, it is from Kirito's perspective, the beta
everything is.
tester, everything's from his perspective. So of course you're gonna fall in love with his character because he is wholesome. He doesn't want to kill people. He feels bad when he
Yeah,
does have to kill people. He feels bad when other people die, even when it has nothing to do with him. He blames himself when other people die. So we see that he also deals with a lot of psychological trauma as well because people do die on his watch when he's
yeah.
supposed to be the strongest guy, the protector of the group. So we follow him as a lone warrior until he meets Asuna, until they become a duo, until they start working with other
Well,
teams. And
he yeah he does meet what's his name? He meets a couple of other guys that he does party up with a little bit.
yeah, but
The guy
he still is dealing with
with the
those
green
psychological
hair.
problems where he doesn't want to actually be with them.
Yeah, because he's definitely seen a lot of like he's definitely seen a lot of violence and murder because they have what you call the player killers where their names are in red for people who have killed the players. And I think Kirito has only ever killed two people, like actual two people, just to save his own life and one to save Asuna's life, I'm pretty sure. But he definitely, like you said, he has those kind of psychological problems where he doesn't want to be in a team with anybody because he doesn't want to see them die.
Yeah.
So I think season one really helps out with showing like kind of world building and kind of explaining who he is as a person, and it does really well for other side characters. A lot of animes only really first season only focus on the main character, but the first season helps out with a lot of the other characters too. So
Okay. Well, now moving on to the second season, we kind of like clean up a lot of loose ends with the first season, which is great. And they come back to the real world. The initial issue is over, but now they're coming up with a new issue, and it kind of felt like an ass pull. The new issue that presented itself, the new reason why he had to go into the game. It kind of felt like, all right, okay, I understand where we're coming from, but why? Why? You know what I mean?
so I will say technically, Alfhelm Online, the second arc, is still in the first season. I
It's
thought it was
still the first season.
remember I thought it was the second season, and that's why I said the second season was ass, but I didn't know the second season is actually Gun Gale. The second season starts with Phantom Bullet, where he
Mm-hmm.
goes into Gun Gale. The fairy dance arc is Alfhelm Online, where Asuna didn't get to come out of Aincrad. Like she was stuck by one of the developer's sons, or
Yeah,
the developer's like cousin son that wanted to marry her,
yeah.
right? So he kept her in the game, and Kirito had to go become a fairy in order to like get her out of the bird
So
cage
that's
that's
still
like high
first
up on the
season.
mountain. That's still the first season. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Okay. All right.
So
These
that's kind
arcs.
of where that's kind of where it fell off for me is when they come out into the real world. He does the fairy thing, and I think it's kind of in between that, or when he finally pulls her out is where it gets. I can't remember exactly. I know he pulls her out of Alfhelm online, and I think that's at the end of the first season before they get into Phantom Bullet, and that's where it falls off for me. But because I get you with the fairy dance, it's kind of like it kind of felt like they were giving us something to kind of work out the rest of the show or work
Yeah.
out the rest of the manga or whatever. I don't know how the manga was written before, but season 2 is the Phantom Bullet. The season 2, I enjoyed season 2 because we do get introduced to a new character. I can't believe I forgot her fucking name. The girl with the sniper rifle.
Yeah.
I forgot what is her fucking name.
I don't know her name.
I forgot her name, but I actually really do like her character. Out of all the females that are in the show, I like her character. Asuna, she's like the MC, the female MC. Like, people are expected to like her.
Mm-hmm.
Lifa, she's a fucking weird, like,
I didn't even get into it. I didn't
yeah,
even want to speak on it.
incest. Anyways,
Mm.
but this girl, I really liked her because she was very she didn't need. I mean, she got help from Kirito, but she didn't need it. She was already a fucking goat on her own, right?
Mm.
She was really good at sniping. She was winning a lot of the tournaments and a lot of the matches, and she helped Kirito. This is the one time that Kirito needed help. Besides Lifa in the fairy game, which Lifa showed Kirito how to be a fairy for like 2 episodes, and then he was like the most
Then it was the
masterful
most
fairy.
badass fairy there
Yeah, the
is.
most badass fairy there was. But in Gun Gale, he was totally out of his fucking element.
Mm.
And obviously, we talked about the fact that he had like the lightsaber sword that literally made the sound of a lightsaber when it fucking came on, which I thought was badass. I'm very simple to please when it comes to this like action, but I definitely agree with that. But if y'all don't know, so I mean, the Phantom Bullet is essentially a guy is using a gun in Gun Gale, and he normally just shows up out of nowhere. So when they could put up Gun Gale is kind of like Call of Duty. You put up UAVs, you put up like all kinds of shit, and you get to see the players on the map. You go fight them, you go kill them, so on and so forth. Well, he was never popping up on UAVs. He was pretty much a hacker, and he would shoot people in the game, and then they would die in real life.
Mm.
And obviously, there's a plot twist at the end of how he's doing that. Not going to spoil that. I feel like a majority of people on the planet have seen season 1, but they haven't seen season 2 and on because of what happened in like Fairyland. But I thought it was good. I like the new guns. I like the gun aspect. I watched the alternative series, Gun Gale Online, which doesn't have Kirito or Asuna in it. It's its own separate show. It's only one season.
Oh, is it? I haven't seen that.
It's like 10 episodes, 10 or 12 episodes. It's pretty good. I wish they continued it, but it has this like little bunny girl that's a psychopath.
I have a question then.
What's up?
Did watching season 2 Gun Gale make you want to watch this other series?
Other series, the Gun Gale other series one.
Yeah.
I watched the Gun Gale Online alternative, which is the one without Kirito. I watched that before I watched Phantom Bullet.
Mm. So here's
And-
my thing. I think you know a lot more about Gun Gale, which makes that season a lot better for you.
Yeah,
Because
so
I didn't. understand Gun Gale at all. I knew season one, season two. Well, I mean, not season two. Season one, the end when they went to the fairyland, they gave him wings. It all still made sense to me. Gun Gale, everything just completely changed, and it was like a completely different change of pace, and I didn't like it because of that.
What you have to understand is when they won Aincrad, when Kirito was offered the golden egg of Aincrad or whatever, or the key to the
Mm-hmm.
game, he allowed, kind of like Ready Player One, he allowed people to create their own worlds and have their own VR worlds. So it was pretty easy for me to understand that this was just a whole new world that somebody created. They created a Call of Duty world,
Mm-hmm.
and essentially everybody has guns and they just do battles and they do literally multiplayer. Like Call of Duty multiplayer, but in VR. Like that's pretty much it. And people get to hang out in bars and do crazy shit. Like pretty much like any VR, kind of like Ready Player One, like the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like people just go into the VR world and they get into battles and then they win, or if they don't. Um, I did like the. I know it was kind of like we said it was an ass pull and it was more like plot armor, but I did like the whole like sword, like lightsaber shit with the
You
like
like the
splitting gun.
lightsaber part.
I did like that shit. I mean, I thought it
You
was
like the
pretty cool.
you like that.
Yeah, yeah, of course I did. I
But
mean,
it
I'm
was
a
an
big Star
ass
Wars
pull.
fan.
But it was an ass
It
pull.
was. I
Okay.
can agree. I can admit that.
Okay.
I can
Okay.
definitely admit that. But I liked it. I liked the good action. I liked that sometimes he couldn't do that and he had to pull out the little pistol and be like, "Yank, yank, 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 yank," you know.
He was
Even
a
though he
badass in
missed.
that one.
Yeah, but he was pretty good, even though he had a female avatar. But like, I thought season two was decent. I felt like it gave us enough action to hold us over for what was left. But then after I watched Gun Gale, that was kind of like, or Phantom Bullet, I didn't watch anything for a long time.
Mm.
And that's obviously when we get to whatever we get to. But
Okay.
how'd you feel about Phantom Bullet? Which I think I already kind of covered.
Um. Again, not really feeling Gun Gale. Kirito, he's a badass. I love Kirito because he's a badass. He gets in anybody's game, anybody's VR, and he does what he
Competence.
does. You know, I love Kirito. Season two was cool for me because figured it out. In
Yeah.
the end, he had a gotcha bitch moment, and I love that for Kirito. Um, Not my favorite season. So season one was still my favorite season, even with how it ended. Season one, how it began, and the
Yeah.
whole premise of the VR and what Kirito was doing. It kept me over to season three. Season three, Alicization,
Alicization. Alicization.
Alicization. They say many things.
Illegally.
Liggity diddy. So, all right, this is where it finally starts to turn up. Um, I like season three. Season one was still my favorite up to this point, but season three definitely started to build up what was about to happen. So,
Yeah.
season three started out where a situation happened and Kirito pretty much almost dies, in which he has to be put on life support in a VR reality in order to get his mind back right to who he is. So that's the setup to get them to where they
Well,
are.
let's
Well,
start here though.
yeah, you have a little
Let's
add
start here
to
though.
add to that.
The first fucking episode, he wakes up and lives a whole life. Like he wakes up and lives a whole life up to he's
That
like 10
that
years
that was the
old.
trials. So they were already doing trials, and he was already
Yeah,
doing that
and I
part.
know, and he like came out of it,
Mm-hmm.
didn't know what he did,
Mm-hmm.
had no idea where he was, and then he finally like. But we watched like the first couple episodes is him like living with these kids, living with Alice, living with the other dude,
Mm-hmm.
and literally doesn't know he's in a VR, but he has these like weird skills, and he doesn't fucking know why he has these skills. I think the whole setup and the reason why I love this season and how they started it off, what did it for me is like it wasn't just another game he was stuck in. Like this was legit, like so complex and different things and different like different scenarios that were going on. Now, granted, like obviously later down the road, he obviously gets stabbed in the back by that like by the fucking full circle by the Gun Gale guy, by the fucking Gun Gale guy. Because if y'all
The
don't
Phantom
know,
Troop people.
yeah, the Phantom Bullet guy had two accomplices who were killing people while they're in their bed, and he was shooting them in the real life. But the guy from fucking Gun Gale comes and stabs him in the street with a fucking little death syringe, and they put him under in a coma. And then he wakes up in that world again and has no idea who he is again. And it's
Now,
like,
not to get fully into
yeah, it's crazy.
this world, but Kirito was already working with
Mm-hmm.
them to kind of test out this world. That's why he was already living a
Yeah.
whole life in the world. So when they put him into the VR, his life was already set up. Like who he was
Yep.
is already set up. He just didn't remember everything until finally it was pretty early. He started to remember things pretty early, but until he met the other kid
Yeah. Well,
and
they
he
told
used
him.
his sword skill,
Yeah.
he was like, oh yeah, that's what's happening.
Yeah. They told him that he during his trials that they have a memory erasing thing to kind of keep it
Mm-hmm.
like an NDA, like a non-disclosure agreement for a
It's
new
exactly
game.
like an NDA.
Pretty much like whenever he came out of the VR, he would lose
You don't
his
remember
memory of the
shit.
game, so he couldn't tell people.
Mm-hmm.
And then he'd go in and remember things from the game, but not from his life, and like crazy shit that sounds really dangerous. But then he finally starts when he goes under that coma, he finally starts realizing who he is, what he can do.
Mm-hmm.
But what's weird is we get to a point where those kids don't even know who he is
Oh,
anymore.
here's the
Like,
the plot
yeah,
twist of the beginning of Alicization. We meet the boy, the blonde boy. He's
hmm
chopping at a tree. We don't really understand everything was going on, but he's supposed to chop this tree down, and
that's
that's
his
his
NPC job.
job. Yeah, that's the
His
job that he's supposed to do.
as an
Chop
NPC.
this tree, and then Kirito shows up. They have a little adventure where they fight some bandits or something like that, and
Yeah,
Kirito realizes, oh, I can use a sword. And by the end of like episode 1 or 2, he used the sword to chop the tree, and it takes the tree down a lot of health points. And the blonde haired boy's like, I want to use a
teach
sword
me how
too.
to do that shit. Yeah,
All right, so this is where
teach me how to
elicitation
take
starts to
things.
pick up. The
Yeah.
kid finally cuts down the tree. He finishes his job, so he gets a new job. He chooses to be a swordsman, so him and Kirito start the journey to be a swordsman. And also, I
No.
don't want to tell the full story,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but to be a swordsman and to go to the main capital. Go
Am I
ahead.
but am I butthurt that when Kirito trains this kid, he's almost good. He's almost as good or more good, more good.
Better than.
He's better than
Mm,
Kirito. Yes,
yes.
absolutely butthurt. I
Yes.
was upset. My
Yes.
wife was upset. She was mad. She was like, "How he gonna train him? But he's stronger than Kirito right now because
But
this kid has some
he
like
trained
soul
his life
power."
of slicing, just doing this over and over again. I mean, like, that's like, you know,
I was
time
butthurt.
chamber.
But then Kirito finally pulled out his plot armor from his back pocket and then started whacking motherfuckers. So I was like, okay,
I
we're
mean, he
good.
came into his full being.
Yeah, he finally because it took him the whole season to like really start learning, remembering who he was. It was like bit by bit by bit by bit, and the
Hmm.
more battles he fought in, and then he got like two swords at once. He was like, "This seems familiar," and he's like, "Wing, wing, wing, wing." And he's like, "Oh yeah, that's who the fuck I am," you know. But I think it definitely the big plot twist of him being in the coma the whole time and like us starting it with him in that world because I was mad confused. Like, but this was a good kind of confused. This was like I want to know what the fuck I'm watching right now
Hmm.
because when he wakes up in that world and it's Kirito and he grows up and grows up and grows up in this world, I'm like, is this motherfucker stuck in another VR again? Like, what's going on? And then they go like the fourth episode, they go into him like hanging out with Asuna, doing this, doing that, and I'm like, so is this nigga not in a VR? And then he gets stabbed, and then it goes back, and then he's like, oh yeah, remember me? And they're just like, who are you? And I'm like,
Hmm.
what? That was him in a VR. Like what? He's been in a coma this whole time.
That's super
Like,
touchy because for you, you were excited to find out what's going on. For people who were like, I'm kind of just watching this because someone said it was good, that can be scary for them because they're like,
yeah,
I'm too confused what's going on. I'm just going to go ahead and cut this off. So be wary if you do watch this show.
I
It's a little
yeah.
confusing the first few episodes, but it
I
does
am a
explain
first.
itself.
Yeah, I have said it a million times. I am more of a journey than the destination kind of guy. So I know we've obviously kind of ruined a little bit of things for you guys that are
Not
gonna
everything.
watch
We
this.
haven't even told the
Not
main plot
everything.
line.
Not yet. Not everything. But I'm talking about the whole coma thing and like stuff like that. Like that was a big turn for me. I was like, oh, this thing's about to die. Like he's gonna die. But that kind of I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen to him, so on and so forth. But and I just love the fact that literally this man from Gungale was chasing his ass the whole time. Like literally found his bitch ass in
Even
the street.
worse than that.
He
Even
said,
worse than
"Come
that.
outside. We not gonna jump you.
They've been
Come outside."
they've been they've been beefing. They've been ops since season 1 when they were part of the
Oppositions.
red
Yes,
troop or the red
they're
red
the
something.
player killers.
The player
Player
killers.
killers.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
the PKs from season 1 who
Yeah,
then
PKs from
became
season one,
PKs in
then became
season
the
2.
Phantom Troop, and then in
Like, bro,
season three, this man finally got his lick in on Kirito. Finally, in the real world, he said, "You don't got no sword skills here, buddy." Like,
but just to get into like the finishing off of season 3. So season 3 ends where we're finding out the god of the world isn't all what she's made out to be. So Kirito and Blondie take it upon themselves to essentially take her down. But to fight the king, you got to fight the knights. So they go one by one, they in battle royale
four by
fashion,
four,
and they fight them one by one, and
Philly
they beat
City,
them one by one.
house
So
to house, street to street.
how you felt about those fights?
I thought them fights
Those
were
fights were
lit,
lit.
fucking the best fights I've seen in anime since, like, obviously, like
Hold
Demon
on,
Slayer,
we
those
haven't
few
even got to
fights.
season 4 yet.
I know,
Relax.
but that's what I'm saying. The best fights I've started was in Alicization and Underworld. Those were some of the best
I
fights
agree.
I have seen in anime. Like, well-rounded
Even
fights, not
Fate,
just like,
even Fate. Come on.
no. Stop. I
Woo!
said some of the
Woo!
best fights.
Yeah.
Fate fights are the most goated fights I've ever seen.
Yo,
in
Fate
anime
got
in
some
my entire
really
life.
beautiful.
But
They have beautiful fight scenes.
beautiful
That's
fights.
why.
But coming from Sword Art Online, that was
Unexpected.
because it was unexpected. It became one of my top, like, fight shows, like one of my top fight shows or seasons in a show.
The way season 3 started, it was like so slow. It wasn't like the fights, but then it ended with banger to banger to banger.
Bang.
Bro.
And then they obviously meet somebody, which, we're not going to spoil. But I think one of the big twists at the end of it, when we find out that these people are technically real people, like, they gave them, what they have, which is not like, it's not like a serious, like, spoiler, but that he's trying to fight for their rights. These people in this world.
Yeah,
He's trying to
they're
fight
mind
for their
controlled.
world.
They don't even realize.
Yeah, he's trying to fight for their world. Because they're controlled by, which I thought was, like, that was crazy as fuck. Where, like, if you try to break a rule hard enough, your fucking eye would explode. I was like, damn, that's fucked up. Like, if you try to go against the code of the system, it literally sends that error code in your eye,
And it's not like a one-time ass pull. It's like a continuous thing, and they explain it, and you're like, okay, that makes sense. And you see characters from this world breaking the code of the system in order to realize, oh, we're wrong.
Because they're technically NPCs that have souls, and NPCs can't break character. And whenever they do, they get that error message like, "Hey, stop doing what you're doing." But if they go hard enough, it just explodes their fucking eye, and it's like,
I thought that was pretty cool. I think that was a really good added piece of it.
yeah, it was.
Now we did get a bleach ass pull. You know how Ichigo trained for all of 2 months, while all these other soul eaters have been training for 1,000 years to get their bankais. Of course, Kirito and Blondie managed to get their bankais within about a year or two of training. Kirito makes sense. Kirito
makes
got
sense,
it.
though.
Blondie,
He's had these. Yeah, Blondie shouldn't have got his. That's why I told you I was butthurt that he was almost as good as
needed
Kirito.
to. He needed to. I mean, Kirito made it look good
to
though.
keep up.
When he did his, I mean, it looked good. It looked better.
His is way better than the ice shit.
Yeah.
Like way better. His is like, I remember him saying like, "Oh, I'm not gonna do mine yet," or he's like, "Oh, was that yours?" And he's like, "Kind of, but I'm not gonna do the rest of
You'll
it.
see.
I want it to be a surprise."
You'll see.
And,
Don't worry.
And when he finally did it, everybody's like, "What the fuck was that?" Like, because it's Kirito. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course Kirito's gonna have the best fucking bankai. He's gonna have the best like fucking shit ever. And then, but I was just upset that they made Blondie as good as him. I think they could have made him close to it, and then like just to allow him to keep up with him.
I don't know. I felt like he wasn't as strong. I felt like Kirito still had a huge edge.
I get that they were trying to make this show more about like human rights, right? Like the rights of the people, and they wanted the other people to look strong as well. But I mean, if you put Kirito in there, I want to see his ass go off and just be better than everybody.
Yeah.
And like, that's just my personal opinion. I'm as simple as that. Kirito's better than everybody.
I mean, but then he would have died then. He would have just been heavyweight. He had to be good. And he did train with Kirito. Like, they explained it. It was like a good little time jump. Like, I believe like a year or 2 years. Yeah, 2 years time jump. I mean, that's...
Kirito's been fighting with swords for that man's life.
How better could you get? You can only get other people to a solid level. He just had to get
Um,
back to who he was. He
Kirito still
wasn't.
had his
He wasn't even
craft.
that who he was by the time he was fighting those knights.
That's
Until
fair.
until he until he
Until
had to
four,
come
yeah.
back. You feel me?
Yeah.
How do you like
But it's
three?
just,
How did it end for you?
it ended great. I knew more was coming. Obviously, I watched these after they were all finished, so I knew something else was coming later.
Mm.
Um, I definitely think they ended on a zinger. With kind of just like, okay, something else is coming down. Well, season three I think ended decently. Season four was just it for
I
me.
mean, yeah, it was good, but like I said, it still wasn't my favorite until season
Season
4.
four was season four was that shit.
All right,
Season four was
so
that shit.
Sword Art Online season 4.
Is that shit.
I mean, we understand is that shit. So thoughts
Oh my
before I get
god.
into it.
Oh
I
my
still got the
god.
fresh perspective. I just
You
watched it.
do, you do. What, bro? When the op showed up and started ripping that fuck, they started airing that whole joint out. I was like, they're dead. These niggas are dead. And Asuna was there, and I'm like, she's dead. Like everybody, I was like, damn, they fucking this place up. And then when they finally like, we start realizing what the American, which is kind of shitty because they're doing it from like the view of the Japanese. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously it's like the American government is coming and trying to take over this thing where they create souls and like shit like that, which
Mm-hmm.
we find out that they're literally creating souls and giving NPCs souls, which is like, crazy, right? But then like I thought it was mad. It was fucking crazy when they finally start getting into the war. Kirito, I was kind of butthurt that Kirito was like in fucking like a catatonic state the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
After season three, which he ended with him in a very catatonic state
I
because
mean,
he
yeah.
used like the most strongest power in the world or some shit to defeat the girl or whatever, and he
Well,
ended up
well,
being
that the system, something happened with the system at the same time he was accessing the power grid,
yeah.
so it kind of shorted him out.
Yeah, it was like if they end up shutting the power off, he would die,
Yeah,
but he like separated himself and they shut it off at the same time and then he came
yeah,
back together and then it made him like you
yeah.
and he was kind of just
Basically
like
shut down.
alive but like he was just his eyes were awake. That
Mm-hmm.
was it. I was kind of upset that the majority of that show he was like fucked up.
I mean,
Like
it was okay for me.
I like Kirito. I like the
I mean,
main
obviously,
character.
of course.
If the first like few episodes had him in that state and then he came out of the funk and started fucking shit up, I'd be okay with it. And I get it. He had a whole heroic entrance at the end of the shit, right? Like I get it, right? But I was just kind of upset that the majority of that season he was in that catatonic state. But I was obviously when like Asuna showed up and his boys started showing up, he started moving a little bit more and started getting his jiggly feeling back, right? Um, but I think it really when they when they started letting these American players join in on the fucking game, the war, and
Mm.
started just joining in as these random NPCs, and they said the Japanese are trying to take all the DLCs and shit, and they're like these fucking cheaters, and they're going in,
Bro, that
but
was
they're
funny as
legit
shit.
like killing real people, which like real people, like
You see, you know what side of the war he would have been on.
yeah, but
Let's go.
fuck no, I'd have fucking.
Kill the
If I saw the way
Japanese.
we looked and I saw the way that they looked, I'd be like, I want to be on their team. Like, look at them. That's Kirito right there. I'm gonna be with him.
Anyway,
Oh,
so
Asuna is cute.
let me get into the season 4 story. So season 4 starts where season 3 leaves off. We start to see at the end of season 3 that there's an even bigger picture than the god of the world. We
Mhm.
start to find out that the human side of the world is, and there's a demon side of the world where the wall between is starting to deteriorate, and
Yep.
eventually is going to break down, and they're going to be able to cross over. So season 4 starts where it starts to deteriorate and they start to cross over. Now it starts with them realizing it's deteriorating, realizing they need to prepare for the demons to cross over to begin to attack them. They're starting to regather their forces because, mind you, Kirito and Blondie they just ran through their forces, knocking off. They didn't kill the knights, but they fucked them up. Some of them almost ended up dying
They
because
had
of
to
situations.
restructure. They had to restructure their regime because they didn't have anybody to protect the city
Yeah,
anymore
exactly.
because Kirito fucked them up. Like,
And how
they,
society was, only the knights were the fighters. They didn't let the people actually raise armies, so they actually had to
yeah,
train the people to fight for them. So where the climax or where the story actually picks up is the war begins. The wall deteriorates. The demons cross over, and now as he already said, Kirito is out of. He's in the picture, but he's out of commission. So he's in a catatonic state. He's in a wheelchair. Everyone is fighting to protect him, and then we start to see they're fighting to bring him back. So we actually get to see a display of everyone's powers. We get to see all the different knights and their individual bankais that they have, like Bankai level 1 and then their advanced bankais. So we got to see everyone displays of their powers. We got to see character development moment for like the weaker knights, how they're striving to get better. So we got to see how one who was in love with like the main knight, how he was trying to impress her and how he pretty much gives his life to for that love. And we got to see how some people they were afraid because they weren't really fighters, but now they become the best fighters. And we also got to see some knights completely slaughter demons by the fucking ass bucket load. So if you want to just see a whole bunch of people die at the cycling rate, then yeah, this is definitely the season for you. It had the best fights out of all 4 seasons. They had the best fights. It had some of the best character development out of all the fights. The plot was driven hard and fast. We got to see like real life situations like in the real world, so not even in the VR world, but in the human world, where people are getting shot, they're dying, they're risking their lives for just NPC souls, I guess you want to call them. These are just the lights, the NPC souls. So they're risking their lives just, of course, to save Kirito because he's the main character. He has the plot armor, so they have to save him. But also to protect Alicization, the human world. Actually, not just the human world, the whole world. So for them, they don't necessarily care which side lives or dies, but they want to protect it because it's Japan's, and they're trying to protect it from who's trying to steal it. And in that story, of course, the U.S. are the bad guys.
They start lying and shit and start saying like, oh, they're trying to fucking.
Oh, we're not even there yet.
The Japanese are trying to fucking do this. And
so,
like, oh, fuck these people.
So the walls break down. We got to see everybody go hard. The human side actually is winning. They're going to win this war. And then again, the fucking player killers from season 1, from season 2 and 3, they're back. They're the ones who are actually attacking the facility that where the testing is being done and where the Kirito's body and Asuna is they're at right now. So they're attacking because they've been hired by the US government to actually steal this system. So they're breaking in. People are using real guns. People are getting shot. Like you're watching people die. It's actually pretty brutal. And then once they got to like a standstill, they actually put themselves into the system. They take over like NPC system admin roles on the demon side, and then because the demon side is losing, they start to get other players from the US, from Korea, from China, and they're telling them, oh, the Japanese, they're coming into our system and they're just ruining our time because the Japanese are bad people and they don't want to see us have a good game because they want to have the best VR in the world.
They start manipulating him and shit because those player killers, the one took the role of the Demon King or the Demon Lord or whatever it is, and started like manipulating everybody because the one dude was like, oh, like you're such like that one Demon King was like a really nice guy and he was trying to like set up like peace talks and like all this kind of shit, and then he just immediately became like different. And they're like, what the fuck? Because one of the player killers took him as their avatar, and then another one killed one of the other dudes who was trying to fucking do peace talks as well. That was a pretty badass moment. Yeah, he was like, wait, the Demon King's alive? And they're like, yep, he just was resurrected. And they're like, okay, well, he wants to see you. And he's like, okay. And he goes in and he's like, are you trying to make peace with them? And he's like, yeah. Boom, dead. It's
Remember when the assassin came into the room and he killed her, and then he told everybody he killed her. So old dude was like, I'm about to kill you. And then he's like uses the strongest attack, and everybody like, oh shit, he's about to kill him. And then he like it does nothing at all, and he ends up dying. Everybody's like, hey, you that nigga though. We with you. We with you the whole time. The whole time.
You were joking. It was a joke.
And mind you, these are just the NPCs. And then the NPCs pretty much get whacked. And outside of the ones who realize, actually, you guys are the bad people. We need to fight you guys to protect the system. Yeah. So then the bad guys start to hire real people to come into the game to fight them. And you just see by the ass load like not what would you call them? Like default characters, like the default
Yeah.
skins of a whole bunch
Mhm.
of people who are just getting. And when they die, they just leave the game.
They get into a new one. When they get into a new one.
Well, yeah, they can get out the game and then they'll just get into another default skin and then log in again. But when the people who are in the game, the actual NPC souls, when they die, they're dead.
That's it. Like, yeah.
So these people, you literally like that moment where the music's slow and you see people fighting in slow motion and you see everyone dying
Yeah.
around you. They have that moment where you're looking around like,
It's
when they
it's
die,
very
they
yeah.
die.
It's very Last Samurai esque, where they have
Mm-hmm.
that giant battle scene, and it's just like you've seen these people getting slaughtered. These NPCs will get fucking like these default skins would get fucking hacked, and then it would be that same NPC or that same default skin from America would show back up again and be like, "I'm back in," and then go and kill
And then
somebody,
kill them
and
again.
they're just they'll kill them again, and they're like, "They're not going anywhere. We need to, get up, soldier. We are leaving." Like they're
And
just
that's
getting
something that
wrecked.
was lost, I would say, from season one, where people, if you died, that's the end of the road, because
They
we
didn't
started
make it
moving in.
very, yeah.
Yeah, and then in season four, where they brought that feeling back again. I finally felt attached to
Yeah.
characters dying again. I'm like, damn,
Yeah. In
you
season
not
one,
gonna.
they didn't make it very emotional
Mm,
whenever a player died in Aincrad in SAO.
mm-hmm.
But then season four, they definitely brought back the element of like, oh shit, like yeah, they may be souls just in a game, but they were created with their own intelligence, their own free will, and like they're legit dying. Like kids are dying, fucking like people are literally getting slaughtered, and they even bring back that emotionality whenever we see the ops show up to the fucking ship and people are getting shot and like these security guards. I like that they are connecting all of these seasons connect back to that initial moment Akihiko Kayaba creates SAO and
Mm-hmm.
kills players in the game or have players kill each other in the game. It all goes back to why he did that, being that he is trying to create a world free from government regulations, free from control. And like obviously he has his own, a little funky way of doing it, but they really connect it well, not just like me and my fucking thoughts about Madara, where it's like they're in dreams, they're fine,
Mm-hmm.
like he's like there's a legit reason, and it all goes down, it all comes back to the same point. Like all roads lead to him
Yeah.
on every single thing. So, yeah, I definitely Alicization Underworld was probably one of my most favorite, you know, one of my most favorite. I think probably my favorite season in the show, other
Mm-hmm.
than the OG SAO. I like them both for different reasons, so they're kind of still on the same kind of level as me, as the original. But I definitely like especially like Alice legitimately coming to life, which
Mm-hmm.
was kind of crazy, but because that's what they've been trying to do, which I guess they're trying to stop because of population control. It's a whole big government conspiracy over there, so which is video games. Like who would have thought, right? But
So I love season four. Season four is definitely for sure my favorite of all four
yeah,
seasons because it had the plot, it had the fights, it had the story progression. It gave you like the perfect cliffhangers with season four ended, and it's letting you know that it's not over yet. Like you were just
yeah,
getting into, like the main creator from season one, you're starting to understand that there's more to come that has something to do with him, that has something to do with Kirito, and that has something to do with the government of this world. And I love how they're, like you said, they're finally getting all those loose ends. They're tying them well
mhm,
together. And we know once season five happens, if that is the final season, I would feel by the end of the final season that everything was wrapped up well. And
yeah.
that's why out of the whole show, not just the fourth season, I think the show was done well altogether.
So there is a season 5 trailer.
Oh, already?
Yeah, I just thought about that because I'm pretty sure I remembered something about it. Um, Something about Kings and Queens. Because I'm pretty sure it was going down to the point of like going back and rebuilding. Um, I don't know. I think it was something about going back and rebuilding that world and that kingdom and something like that.
Yeah.
But um, if I'm being honest, most shows that end in wars, when they try to bring another season after that, it's kind of just like
Yeah, I understand.
Cool.
I
We just
understand.
get like we get extra SAO. Cool.
And I felt that too
They
by the
can't
end
follow up
of
with that.
season 4 because like exactly they cannot follow up with that because it was so well done. And
Yeah.
I was actually hoping by the end of season 4 that they were going to wrap it all up. When they
Yeah.
showed the last episode, I was like, I love that we got to see them do their powers. They obviously
Yeah.
this is a whole new what do they call it? A frontier because now they're in
Yeah.
space in the game. It's a whole new frontier. I really feel that they should have wrapped it up. And
That
maybe there's
whole
something great to come. And if it is, thank you, awesome. But if it's not,
I actually
I
I
wish they
actually
would have wrapped it up.
completely fucking forgot about that. That shit was pretty tight with
It
the whole like
was,
them showing how the world progressed and then
yeah,
they ended up being in space and then like who is it? Like Alice's granddaughter was the pilot or something. I forgot, but it was pretty cool. I
it
thought that
was
shit was
a.
dope.
They presented a final plot point in the second to the last episode that I wish they would have, and they could have. They could have wrapped that plot point up by the end of by the final episode, but they decided to leave that plot point to be the plot point of season 5. And I don't know if that may be a good thing, or it may end up being a damn. Sword Art Online could have been an awesome show, or it could have been a
Yeah.
damn that ended up really well.
Because
Before
I
we get
love it.
too far into this was our review of Sword Art Online. Sword Art Online. Our final thoughts on it. I think it was a really good show. I really hope they season 5 close it out and closes it out really well. But everything that they have created so far, I think it was a pretty good show.
I
You?
think this was one of the best fall off comebacks of any anime I've ever seen.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely fell off towards the end of season 1
A
and
lot of a
picked back
lot of
up
I've seen a
season
lot
2,
of people
season 3.
seen a lot of people that said SAO fell off, SAO is trash, and then especially on TikTok, and then people will be like, "Did you even see season 4?" And then they'll be like, he or she or whoever's doing the creator would be like, "No, because it was trash," and then they would legit watch it, and they'd be like, "I was wrong," just like me. So I think this is one of the best comebacks of a show ever
Mm.
that fell off. Do I think other shows are still great? That felt like Naruto fell off after fucking Shippuden, like in Shippuden it fell off. Like, but the way that this show came back from that
Mm.
was probably one of the most best comebacks ever, and I think that's what makes it such a great fucking show.
Yeah.
We'll say so. I'm gonna say this just because this is a running joke with me and my wife about this show.
Mm.
Yui, the little girl that there is their daughter.
The fairy, yeah.
She's a fucking cyber terrorist. I'm just gonna point that out there. If any government, if this was real life, and 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 I had one like her, like as a little like AI, she hacks into everything. She hacks into government computers. She hacks into all webcams.
True.
She hacks into people's phones, computers, eyewear. She hacks into everything to get Kirito information. She hacked into the CCTV to get him the camera on the Gungale guy that was coming to fucking kill them.
Mm.
She is a fucking cyber terrorist, and the FBI would be knocking on my fucking door if I had something like that. Because she is a fucking cyber terrorist.
Hey,
She's
she's
awesome,
awesome.
but she's also like, oh, give me 1 second, Daddy, I'll go check. And then she's literally surfing the
Daddy.
dark internet looking for fuck. She's literally Siri on steroids.
Anything you
Like,
want, Daddy.
and she literally goes and hacks into government computers and shit. Like she hacks into everything. I'm like, this girl is, and she can go from game to game and shit. I'm like, this is a true AI, and we're talking about creating AI right now. Look at Yui. Like
Mm-hmm.
Yui's been a fucking cyber terrorist in season 1.
Hey, I do want to bring something up when it comes to you, and I don't know if this was a miss. Maybe it was explained, and I just didn't see it. Um, so maybe you don't remember near the end of probably like the second to the last or the last episode of season 4. They were in the real world. I'm talking about our main character Kirito and the person that comes out of the VR world and was now a human ish. Kirito summons Yui by putting on some VR goggles. I'm guessing he created or has something to do with creating, whatever.
Scale.
So he put them on, and he was able to see Yui. So I can understand that. He see Yui as if she was there.
Yeah, kind of like smart glasses.
Why could the VR person see Yui as well as if they were there and interact with them? Is that because they were able to see Yui as if they had on the goggles as well, and then interact with them as if they could see them as
You're
well?
talking about the person that came out of the game?
Yes. Is it because they came out the game?
She's technically artificial intelligence.
Okay, so that's why. Okay, and that's the reason.
Her
I'm okay with
eyes,
that.
yeah. her eyes are those VR
Okay, so
goggles.
they made her
Like
eyes that same way so she could be able to
she's
interact.
pretty much a robot.
Okay, okay, and
She's a
I'm
robot
okay
with a
with that
soul.
as long
She's
as
an org.
that's the reason.
Have you ever seen Westworld or anything about Westworld?
Yeah.
They're like synthetic robots.
Hmm.
Like synth they call them synths. Yeah, that's pretty much what she is with a soul. She's a synth with a soul. But she has like she can literally, if she wanted to go into like nerve gear, she could be like Link Start and close her eyes and she can go into like a game or something. That's what most of the fandom, but she is a synth robot and most
Well,
robots
I'm
can
gonna
see
need her
like
to chill.
what Yui?
The way she, not Yui, I'm talking about our scent robot,
Oh. Oh.
because the way she been moving and talking to Kirito, like, hey yo,
Hey.
Asuna gonna
If
beat that
I
ass.
yo, if
Asuna gonna
well
whoop that
if
ass.
Asuna don't stop acting brand new, Kirito can get up in that synth robot.
Hey yo, no, Asuna
What?
is number one
I'm
and
not.
only.
No.
Team Asuna. What do you mean?
No. I'm team. I can't say her name, but synth robot.
No, no,
I love synth robot.
robot.
Doesn't matter. She can grow any part of her body.
Robot.
She's a synthetic means fake organic material. She
Oh,
can grow parts.
fake. I'm
Doesn't
not.
matter.
I don't like fake.
She can't get pregnant. That's the best part.
You know what? We're done. We're done. We're done. All right. I appreciate you all for sticking around for this review of Sword Art Online. Peace.
Peace out.